You're welcome back. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. It's time for newspaper review.
All right, we got our newspaper reviewer here, Chukudi Opoli Ugbaja. Good morning to you and happy new month.
I am here, hale and hearty. Have you joined them? Happy new month. Debola, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Happy new month, oh. Well, happy end of the week.
Happy end of the week.
Just something to get Nigerians excited and of course optimistic.
Happy Sunday.
Happy weekend.
It's really
it's
funny.
it's part of our culture, especially the Yoruba culture.
Okay.
Everything they will greet you. Ekaro, Ekason,
The Southwest people,
so
they really do not joke with those
Yes,
things.
no.
Some of us don't consider so important where we come from.
Yeah.
But it marks a people out.
Yeah, it does.
Let the people be what they want to be.
It's
It
part
gives
of
them
our culture.
identity.
Yes. So don't blame us.
I know. I
Okay,
know.
Larry, let's kickstart the newspaper. You have to.
All right, the Nigerian pilot will lead us this morning, and it leads with the headline, Tinubu dares NLC. Says NLC's call for strike unacceptable, wants Congress to refrain from disruptive actions, ask NLC to wait till 2027 if members want to participate in politics, insists the value of democracy is measured in people-oriented outcomes. Away from that, we have give Tinubu more time to fix Nigeria. He inherited dead economy. That's credited to the information minister. Next to that, we have NCCA sets up 10-man committee to address high cost of airfares. Away from the top of the front page of the Nigerian pilot, looking below the picture story, we have Diri says he will constitute inclusive cabinet in his second term. Details on page 6. And we have other stories at the bottom. Lead stories, 25 lecturers died over non-payment of salaries in 26 months. ASU, AAU, ECOMA. 9 persons die of Lassa fever in Benue State. Southeast nominee for CBN Board of Directors rejects appointment. And finally, in the red strip at the bottom of the Nigerian pilot, Northern Nigeria pulls out of rotational presidency. That's an interesting read. Page 4 of the Nigerian pilots will guide you. Looking at the leadership next, we have Tinubu hits back at Labour over strikes. Of course, that's on all the papers this morning. Says 4 protests in 9 months unacceptable. That's on the front page of the leadership. Away from that, we have new constitution will be ready in 2025, according to the reps. And then we have Senate Mo's reduction of Ways and Means repayment window. All right, looks like that's all we can take from the leadership this morning.
Okay, I have the Daily Sun newspaper with me, and beside the nameplate, Nigeria must be decentralized. That's coming from the Professor Wole Soyinka, President's reform good for the country, Information Minister. The stories can be found on page 6. Tinubu angry with NLC, says calling for strikes in 9 months unacceptable. Vows to continue with reforms, fight corruption, commissions red lines in Lagos. That's a front page story and is on page 6 as well. Peter Obi slams CBN's new interest rate, CRR hikes, warns of more economic hardship, job losses for Nigerians. The story is on page 2. Benue confirms 9 deaths, 46 cases of Lassa fever. The story is on page 4. Troops killed 974 terrorists, rescue 466 kidnapped victims in February. Airstrikes kill 3 top ISWAP commanders, over 80 orders. The story also on page 4. Zulum warns on merging Army varsity with NDA, says it will help Boko Haram. The story, it's on page 28. And the Senate approves bill to extend nurse workers' service to 65 years. That story can be found on page 26. Rep propose mandatory drug test for school students. The story is on page 26. Chooks.
Yeah, Demo.
Yeah.
Let me start with
Many talking heads.
the perceived anger of Mr. President concerning what's becoming incessant strikes by labor. You see, when you're at the head of affairs and handling a very tough situation, sometimes you really get touchy because you're human. So I am not surprised the president showed that. But as I always would say, let them keep talking. The alternative to strikes, protests, whatever you call them, by organized, labor, the alternative to it may not be palatable for us. That would be protest by unorganized rabble, the ordinary people. That one takes a shape you don't ever like. So what I'm going to say is, Mr. President, you have a right to get angry because you too are human. He's feeling the heat more than many of us. That's the truth. Uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. But labor still remains a viable alternative in terms of Georgia between government and the people. You understand? So let them always work it out and all that. The NLC itself does not even need the president's comments to count their teeth, their teeth with their tongue. You should know that when you make protests commonplace, at a point you begin to lose value.
Yeah,
you understand?
That's just it.
So Mr. President does not even need to go to town about it too much. That's my take on that. The House of Reps are asking the president to review Orosanye report before implementation. They are saying that some aspects of it may be outdated technology, may have, done things that would validate, the retention of some of the sectors we have now. We're talking about MDAs now.
Yes, we discussed that Oronsa's implementation about 2 days ago, and it was mentioned that some of the circumstances that warranted the report at that time will have changed.
That's the point.
So that's why, I guess, they
that's
are
the point. 24 minus 12.
Yeah, that's 12 years.
2024 minus
12 years. So
that's
a lot
12
of
years. A lot of water
will have
has
gone
gone
through.
under the bridge. So let us be very careful so that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe after a few layoffs, if we're going to have layoffs, we now say, oh, but we truly, I think these people are still relevant.
Said there won't be layoffs,
yeah,
actually.
no, that's why I said
but people would just redeploy to places where they can serve better.
Yes, the maximum utilization of human resources. For instance, if you bring two agencies under one leadership, you're going to find out that there will be more, there will be better ease of transition of the services of those people who are in the two different organizations. So those things will happen. Then you don't call the head of one of them to appear before the House of Reps. The next day you call the head of the other one. The merger would have allowed you to talk to one unit. You understand? There are definitely going to be advantages, but still we must be careful that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
I guess that's why the federal government set up the 12-man committee to look at it. Those are some of the issues that they are going to consider in their recommendations.
One of the stars, I usually drop their names here. Abuja Marwa is one of them. Then the Zulum of Borno State. He's my favorite. I'm sorry, gentleman and lady. He's pleading that the Army University does not get merged with the NTA. I don't know why it's saying that. He mentioned that it could create a platform for Boko Haram elements to... I didn't read properly, how that could happen. But when Zulum speaks, Chukudi listens. I love the man.
A lot of people listen, actually. But talking about listening and what we should do about IDPs, it's important that beyond trying to give them the basic things of life, we need to look at health. And that's because of this report in the Nigerian pilot about Lassa fever claiming 9 lives in Benue. And trying to look at the story, it says that most of the cases were discovered at the IDP's camps
And
in this state.
And you see the herd. The herd existence. When I say herd,
yeah, so it's something that needs to be
people
checked.
People are too close to one another. That's a great point there.
You know, this is something that needs to be checked across all the IDPs, you know, in the country. Because, I mean, people are running away from their lives. You bring them to a place and now they still have to die, you know, from...
That becomes double tragedy.
Exactly, health complications and all of that. So, I mean, because if this is not properly checked, I mean, I'm just imagining the kind of death rate we're going to get from this.
Did any of the GSM telephonies block your SIM? Mine are still working.
Fortunately, I don't use any of those networks that are having
issues. I only have one.
It's your network from Qatar. What are you trying to insinuate?
I choose well.
Okay.
I know how to make my choice.
Okay, but that's true. You need a sixth sense to dwell with a crowd of people. Then you are going to see that you've reduced your conflicts in life. I agree with you. Some people have the sixth sense over things, you know.
Yeah,
Demo,
yes, the Senate approves bill to extend NAS worker service to 65 years. That's from 60 years. You know, some of the, even the civil service, the NLC is one of the bills that they presented to the House that they should extend, you know, the civil service years from 60 to 65. You know, I don't know,
it is not out of place. Demo,
but
I think.
But looking at the population that are unemployed, would that be necessary? Because I mean, 60 is old enough,
Yeah.
and then with all the
in other
limitations.
climes, 60, 65, 70, they are still working. They are
Nyere,
still
How active?
very actively
Nyere
engaged.
would always be a generational activist. Always
Very
talking for young
actively
people.
engaged.
Kicking Demola and Chukudi upstairs. You know,
Still,
they'll give you the impression they elevated you, but actually were kicked upstairs.
don't mind her.
The thing is this, it's balance all the time.
Yeah.
Here I can tell you, there is nothing as good as experience. If you ask me to do a documentary now, I enjoy the documentary in my head before I begin to write or anything. I see the whole gamut of the interesting story I want to tell. Only experience gives you that.
Experience.
I said it to link it with what we do, you and I do. Otherwise, it also happens in the other departments of life. Experience is very important. 65 is not too old
It's not.
to still work. That's my opinion.
So you mean serving for 30 years is not enough?
35 years.
30, 35
Do
years.
you know why you're thinking like that? Like this?
You know,
Do you know why you're thinking
I'm
like
just
that?
thinking about those who don't have jobs.
Submit our economy to the informal sector. It is the informal sector. Those little mechanics and all that you see on the roadside, they drive the economy really. Stop thinking employment. Not 1/3 of the time, please, if we are going to make progress. Why is the government embarking on these reforms? The reforms are expected to reflate the economy, encourage investors to pour in, then people could just stay in their backyard and do whatever they want to do.
Totally
They don't
with
need
you.
white-collar jobs.
I agree totally with you,
understand?
Chukudi. But you see, when you're talking about the civil service here, what I mean, you were talking about your own salary reports just a while ago. And you talked about the fact that 12 years, you know, some things may not.
Exactly.
So now, for someone who's been in service for 30, 35 years, you don't expect the person to have a certain skill and capacity like a young graduate who's been properly schooled and, you know, coming in with fresh blood into the system. And then when you have somebody stay 60, 65 years, you begin to suppress.
Demola,
You begin to suppress and suffocate.
Dude, Demola is suppressing anger as he looked at you while you talk.
suppressing the younger
Bring a laptop
ones.
here. Bring a laptop here. Put one before Chooks the boy. Let's see who gets there first.
No, but
What are you trying to
I'm
insinuate?
just saying.
How dare you?
No, this is not targeted at anyone. No, I'm just saying that.
But actually,
you know,
young
we
people are
need-
faster at
yes.
picking up certain things.
I mean, and then
That's
sometimes
true.
if you
And
look
it may
at
be faster, but just like you said, do they have the experience? There is this saying that does that what a young man sees climbing the stairs and jumping the walls, it takes
That's
just
experience.
the man will just sit
That's
down and
that's
tell
experience.
you, look, what you are
It
struggling
happens to me
to
when I
know
watch
at the other
when I
end,
watch young
I'll just
broadcasters do
It's
tedious things.
simple.
Then
Broadcasting
maybe
is supposed to flow freely.
those who are up there
Yeah.
should learn to carry those who are coming along.
Are they
or
not?
teach them.
Are we not?
Or teach them. Pass this experience across on time. All right. So you have 10 years left in
no,
service.
wait. What do you mean on time?
I mean on time, so that you can transit and then they can fill in the gap.
She made up her mind to attack Demola and Chukwudi Ubaja today. Because we are elders, we are not going to show the extent of her anger.
Chooks.
Because it's smoldering in me, the anger she has.
Chooks, you can't win an argument with a lady.
Yes. You should know when to shut up so that you can move on.
It's time to transit to the next segment of Good Morning Nigeria for Chukwudi to go.
Yes.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Don't push us out, please.
No,
we are still relevant.
Still very relevant, right? Okay. Yes, we signed for the break, so we take a break now. Good Morning Nigeria continues. Stay with us.